Hello, my name is Gail Seiler, and I'm honored to represent BetrayalProjectUSA.org. Betrayal Project USA is a victim led organization that's dedicated to exposing institutional betrayal, honoring those who were killed under the supposed COVID by the protocols and the shots, and pursuing justice and accountability for the crimes that were committed against humanity under the guise of public health. You can learn more about our work, view victim stories, get a copy of our Deadly Hospital Protocol Playbook, and get involved by volunteering at betrayalprojectusa.org. You can also find us on Rumble, BitChute, and X. My Twitter account is in my signature here. That's the main Twitter account. Andy's is right there at Health Warrior 86. You can connect with us. And you can also find our social media on our website. So today, I have the honor of interviewing Andy Kotsanis, whose father was killed in a Texas hospital near me. And Andy is also a board member of Betrayal Project USA. He is our secretary. He's one of the officers in our organization. And he's going to tell us first, Andy, I would like you to tell everyone about your dad. Your dad was an incredible man. I will never, he was a doctor. I will never forget the woman when you told your story on the CHD bus that saw you and said, "Oh my gosh, Dr. K's son." And she was there to tell her son's story, and Dr. K had helped her and she loved him. Go ahead and tell us about who your dad was, because he was a remarkable man.
He was a really special guy. Thank you for letting me be on today to speak with you. My name is Andy. I, uh, I have spent a lot of time, many years, trying to process how losing someone this special in your life, the effect it had on me, what it did to me, and just one of the probably the most outstanding stand-up individuals I've ever known. He was a scholar. He was a father figure to many. He Many turned to him that were his peers, respected by all of his peers. He was a researcher. He was a UT Southwestern medical professor. The list goes on and on. He was an otolaryngologist, head and neck surgeon. He was one of the founders of Defeat Autism Now. But the most wonderful thing about this guy was how humble and gentle he was. He's a gentle soul. You can, if you ever want to just hear him speak, he gave a lot of talks over the years at his institute, speaking about health and wellness and complementary medicine, that modalities that are hard to find but are effective and have a lot of data to back it up. He was one of those doctors that really dug for answers and used methods that in his clinic, where he clinically applied with the help of his staff, medical staff, got lots of awesome results. And he always talked about the spiritual side of healing. That's what made him the special guy he was. He always joked about how you could take a drop of blood, look at it at a microscope, and within a minute, he's like, "You got leaky gut. How did you know? Oh my God." Beyond that, beyond that, and beyond his debonair style, he was a very classy dresser.
He was very
Really was.
classy.
He wore Italian custom suits. I mean, the guy dressed to the nines every day. He went to work every day. He worked hard every day. He did charts until sometimes he would take phone calls from his patients until like 11 at night. He loved it. So it was his life. But the most unique, special thing about this guy was his humbleness and how he delivered the message to you. You have a problem, and this is what I think you need to do. He was very honest with you, and he said, and he would let you know that you don't have much time. Or he would straight up tell you, I think I can help you, but don't sell your house. Some people would come to him from all over the world to see him, and they would be like, help me, and I'll sell my house, I'll sell my car, whatever. He's like, you don't have to do that. No. But some people were willing to give everything up to take this man's advice, his wisdom. Okay. Now, I'm nothing like him. I never pursued medicine as much as he did. I studied phlebotomy, and for a while I helped as an assistant for a very small while working with him, and learned his way of medicine and how he handled people and how cancer works. He was a cancer research
Yeah.
doctor. So, um, but that's who he was. And on March 14th, 2021, the hospital that he helped build, Grapevine Baylor Scott White, which back in the day was just called the Grapevine Medical Center. It wasn't called Baylor. They were too ashamed to call it Baylor. They were. But over the years, he helped establish that hospital and its brand since the year of 1984. And I was, believe it or not, I'm one of the very first children to be born, babies born from that hospital when their outpatient department opened. And he was one of the very first doctors to operate in that same room when they opened it that same year. So interesting. But
Yeah, that's
there's,
incredible. You were one of the first babies born there.
yeah, it was really, I mean, it's amazing to me. And how the years went on and how the community grew into what it is now. It's amazing. But, my dad, he, as prestigious and as amazing as he was, the current staff that was taking care of him, he was in the hospital for about a total of 7 days. And how it all started is, he got COVID, he got over it, and then he had a hard time breathing, couldn't recover from the breathing. So we took him to his clinic, and we started to do oxygen stuff with him because he had all these oxygen tanks, and it just wasn't enough. And eventually he looked at me and said, "Call an ambulance." And I couldn't believe it. So I did. What else do you do? So this hospital that I've known forever, I had a feeling they were going to, take care of him. He'll be fine. He's in good hands. It's Baylor, right? So they take him away. That was the last time I ever saw him alive until the final night, which I think he was still alive, but conscious, speaking to me. And the first few days, it seemed like he was okay. He was texting me saying, "I'm tired, but I feel fine. I feel like nothing happened." And then a few days later, he's dead. He's right in front of me. They're brutally ending his life in front of me. And as the days went on, for he called me one night saying, "They're moving me to a step down unit." Okay, that was the last time I ever talked to him on the phone. After that, they took his phone away. The nurse called about a day later saying, your husband, Mrs. Kotsanis, your husband was confused. So I had to time in restraints because he had tubes in his lungs, and they did a subclavian. They did things to him and tied him down, which now that I understand what they were doing, at the time I don't know what was happening, but they tied him down. And then of course they began doing I want to say they administered 4 doses of remdesivir on him. And then they called my mom saying, your husband's heart is at 50% capacity. He's not doing well. We have to put him on dialysis. And I'm thinking to myself, problems in his life. Why does he have to be on dialysis? It blew me away. And then things were starting to take a turn for the worse. So my mom and I went to the hospital demanding to speak to the administration. And the head administrator, the president of the hospital, Chris
Yeah.
York, her full name is Chris Carl York. This man, who I would consider a grade psychopath, basically did not care who my dad was. We tried to explain who he was and how he helped build the hospital. He didn't. I don't care who your dad was or who your husband was. I'm not going to let you see him. And I said, well, I think it's criminal. You let me see my dad. His response was, if you think it's a crime, call the police. And then he turned away arrogantly and walked away. So, and I should have called the police, but I didn't at that moment. I regret it. But anyways, so about a day or two goes by, we get a call from the nurse, that same nurse, saying she tied my dad down. She's saying, your husband said he wants to die and be put on a ventilator. So we were like, what is going on here? And this is literally like a day and a half later after talking to Chris York,
Do
which
you
we
remember
thought,
which nurse that was? Was that this lady?
no, 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 it was Sarah Grice, the one that violently
Sarah
ended
Grice.
others. Yeah, this one.
This one right
So,
here.
so so that was on a Saturday. Later that day, less than 24 hours later, after this nurse calls my mom saying he wanted to die and be put on a ventilator. So before I even go there, We run to the hospital with our attorney. We conveniently had our attorney with us. So we were discussing strategy about like how do we get my dad out of this hospital.
Yeah.
So we get the call from her. So we rush to the hospital, and you'll see on my website some of the pictures of me confronting hospital staff. I can tell you right now, they looked really worried when we showed up. They were arrogant with me, but they were also the security in the hospital looked scared as shit. They looked really worried that we were there. And I thought that was interesting. Yes, I was very upset, but at the same time, I'm like, why are you guys so worried? What are you worried about? I don't understand what's going on. So finally, they let my mom up, which no extra protection. She goes up to the ICU. These nurses are very nasty to her. I guess they decided to put my dad on a ventilator. She talked to him.
Explain the nasty. What did
They
they do?
were.
'Cause
They said my mom was. She said, uh, I can't believe you're doing this to my husband. You're gonna hear from us, and da da da. And the nurses were very arrogant with her and didn't care, and they were blowing her off and just mean to her, very rude. And so as that's happening, Dr. Jagadeshwar Reddy, Jagadeshwar Gummy Reddy is his full name.
is this him? No,
This
that's
that
not
is
him.
not him. No, this physician is originally from India.
Is this
So
him?
this is him. Yes. So he was the pulmonologist in charge of my dad's case. So he comes down shaking like a leaf, no mask on. Mind you, everyone has a. This is the time period when everyone's got a mask on. He didn't have a mask on, nothing. He came down shaking, very scared, very worried. He says, I talked to your mom. My hands are tied. There's nothing I can do. That was my father's prognosis. I don't know what that meant. I said, Doc, you're gonna have to give me a better answer than that. There's nothing I can do. I'm sorry. You're a medical doctor. I don't understand. So he just walked away scared. Didn't, the guy looked like he saw a ghost or something. And I thought that was interesting, and it made me very concerned. And then less than 24 hours later, of that nurse calling my mom saying my dad wanted to die and be put on a ventilator, she's violently ending his life in front of me while he's in restraints, while I'm being threatened and assaulted by the police. So how did that happen? Well, we get a call about 5 in the morning on a Sunday, March 14th, 2021. The hospital's calling us saying they call my mom saying your husband's coding. That president called and said one of you can go in the room and say bye. So we're like whatever. So we were blown away by that, but we all show up. Okay, we decided to let my sister be the one to go in, and so we all show up, and there's a cop and this older nurse by the name of Donna on the phone with Chris York saying the president just called again saying you can't go in the room. You have to watch him die through glass. So so we go upstairs. This officer is very rude and arrogant with me. Officer Demorius Jones, uh, who resides in Arlington, Texas. He's just down the road from me. Can't believe it. This policeman threatened me and assaulted me by trying to not let me film what was happening. So I'm there
No.
trying to film it. And as I'm beginning to film, he says, "Turn the camera off right now. I'll have you arrested for criminal trespassing." So I did briefly, and then I started recording again. And then Ramel Lantajo, which is the nurse practitioner in charge of my dad's case, this bald, psycho-looking guy, if you want to pull up his picture, he passes a syringe, according to the chart, epinephrine. And I'm thinking to myself, if my dad's coding, why does he have a pulse? I've seen heart monitors before. He had a pulse of 122. So this guy passes off a syringe to Sarah Grice, the nurse that called my mom, saying my dad wanted to die. So she takes the syringe, injects his IV ball. My dad's pulse begins to rapidly drop, and she begins to do the most violent chest compressions. Like this nurse used all of her strength to brutally end his life in front of me. I was threatened and assaulted by the police while it was happening. I was trying to film it. Demorius Jones forced me out of the ICU while it was happening and told me to leave the hospital immediately or have you arrested for criminal trespassing. So he kept trying to push arrest. What's interesting is this policeman refused to tell me his name while it was happening. He was like, my name's D. Is that your rapper name? Like I was messing with him. Is that your rapper name? What, D? Really? What's up, bro? Yeah.
Because they don't want you to know who they are.
Yeah, and he had and he kept his distance too. He was, if they ever release the body cam footage of this cop, you're going to see how far away he is from me the whole encounter. He's like so scared. And I'm like, you're such a, you call yourself a cop. And then anyways, Ramel on Tahoe. So this guy, he refused to tell me his name. None of the people in the
Yeah,
ICU had name tags.
I don't have
Okay.
it.
There were about 20 people in that ICU. None of the nurses, and some of the nurses were laughing at me while I was trying to film. They were being total assholes to me. And um, the other thing that was very interesting, here's another interesting thing. When we show up, there's this religious counselor guy by the name of Eric Cortez, this little shit guy. He's there in his little nice clothes, and he's like welcoming us, into the ICU. And he looked at me as we're going through the door. He says, your dad's a real fighter. What did he mean by that? He was fighting for his life. That's what he was. What he meant.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the nurse was telling you that he wanted to die, but he was fighting for his life. That conflicts,
It
right?
does. It conflicts a lot. So, and then how it all ended. And then here's the really interesting part of this story. The administrator that did this later that year, December of 2021, right before Christmas, he sells his house, discreetly sells his house because he lived in Colleyville, Texas, the same city I live in. He sold his house and then he left Texas and he ran to Arkansas to lay low. But when I gave my website to his workplace and they saw what he did, he was gone. Now he's the president of Dallas Presbyterian Hospital. And when I wrote to them, they never responded. They never said anything. I finally made t I went to the extreme of making t-shirts of my website and sending it to this man's workplace and some of these other people that were involved to their homes, including the
Mhm.
nurse in Ohio, which, by
That's
the
the
way,
cop. Hold that up again. That's the cop that's on your website, right?
yeah. So that's the policeman, Demarcus Jones, right there. That's the cop.
Yeah, meet the
And
new Gestapo,
meet
right?
the new Gestapo. Yeah, exactly. This is exactly what the police are to me right now. That's how I feel. So, Sarah Grice, the nurse that killed my dad, here's the other thing. After she brutally ended his life right in front of my mom screaming, "Stop, stop, stop." My dad lifts his chest off the table, his body seizures, and then he dies. She turns off all the machines, and then she runs with her gloves still on, her face mask, her face guard, her gown. She's like running like a bandit robbing a bank to her car. And then she gets in her car and drives away. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell just happened? What is this? Is this the standard of care? Is this Baylor Scott White? What is going on here? So that that's how I got to see my dad in his final moment. And then for about a year and a half, almost every single freaking day, my mom screamed and cried like a wild animal, like a hyena. And half the people in my subdivision that live in this nice neighborhood that I live in sold their houses. When I started putting signs of my website in the local town where I live in, they were up for about a week, and then about a couple hundred signs I put out, they all went down within a few weeks. And then Grapevine Police Department, after I went to them trying to press murder charges on these people, a man by the name of Sam Shamwell, Detective Sam Shamwell, with the Grapevine Police, knocks on my door in a plain, unmarked car, parks his car in front of my garage, and then he has his little clipboard with his little, he's in his little khaki pants, and he wanted to talk to me about my website and be careful where you put your signs, your First Amendment rights are limited, and all this other shit.
They're not.
And I'm like, whatever, but have a nice day. Call my lawyer. You don't have to talk to us again if you don't want to. And I'm thinking to myself, what was the point of this? Here's what's interesting. So I did a Freedom of Information Act request because I got real curious because I reported these people, to the nursing board, the medical board. According to the nursing board or medical board, these people did nothing wrong without evidence by trial. There's nothing we can do.
Wait, before you get into that Freedom of Information Act, I want you to tell me a little bit more about the hospital. So, Sarah Grice injected your. Do you know what Sarah injected your dad with?
According to the chart, epinephrine, but it could have been anything.
Yeah, because what drugs did they give your dad? Because
They
he was
gave him remdesivir. They gave him full doses of fentanyl. If you go on my website, it'll show you. Okay, but he gave in the day before he died. Every couple hours, they were giving him full doses of fentanyl. Think about that. So
Yeah.
someone who has a hard time breathing, you're giving something that suppresses breathing. And then on top of that, the whole trick of where they turn your oxygen up and they do all these things to throw off the equilibrium in your body and then put you into that state where you might die. And the
Right.
ventilator is like the kiss of death,
Yeah.
you know.
Exactly.
So
So just rattle some of the because do you know if they ever overdosed him in the 7 days he was there?
I mean, I think they did. Why else would they have? I mean, how else can you kill someone that quick?
Yeah, I mean,
And then, what's interesting is when I talk to other people about the same hospital where they lost a loved one, within 7 to 10 days, their loved one died. So there's a formula here
yeah,
that they're using, and anyways, can I talk about the for you, or are we still talking about?
yeah. I want to just
Okay.
wrap up a few things of the hospital. So he was restrained, even though he was chemically restrained. He was also physically restrained, right?
Yeah, and he was in
Uh,
my trance while he was being murdered in front of me.
kills me. That's so terrible.
And what's interesting is when we went there, he had a blanket up to his neck. You can see it on my website. It's like they were trying to cover up something, right? And then
That's what
had
I.
cotton
Yeah,
eyeballs, cotton on his eyeballs, and then on top of that, um, the other thing I thought that was really gut wrenching to see was this machine with tubes of blood running in and out of his body, whatever that was. I think it was the dialysis machine or
yeah,
whatever it was.
probably. But
It was so. I mean, they did all these things that was like torture to him.
and did you ever ask them for any alternative treatments like ivermectin?
We did, but and then in the chart they said they gave him a couple of doses of vitamin C, and they said they gave him some applesauce. I don't believe any of that.
Yeah, right, exactly. What did they did they say no to the ivermectin? Do you remember if or
I think
hydroxychloroquine?
no. We had a doctor write a script and we tried to deliver it to him. I don't know if he got it or not. Probably not.
Probably not.
But the thing on the chart, there's two things that really stand out in this chart. They keep asking him, pushing the ventilator on him. You can see it in the notes from day one. So they
Mhm.
want to get that ventilator money. And then on top of that, they asked him about, is your religious faith helping you? And I'll show you. I got to go back on the chart. It's there. Is your religious faith helping you cope right now? And my dad said no. But why would you ask that? That's a HIPAA. That's no, you can't do that. It's none of your business.
Is your religious faith because your dad was Orthodox, right?
Yes.
Um, that's interesting. So did he get last rites? Do
I
you
mean,
know?
I don't know.
You
I
don't
don't
even
know.
know if they let somebody in
Well,
because
there's that religious guy there that night, but that's not last rites. I mean, I don't know what the hell that was.
yeah, because
I
he could
mean,
be in
does he do
any.
this? Are they up at 5 in the morning for everybody? I mean, there was something really off here. And the fact that the administrator sold his house and later that year, and then the Dr. Reddy, he calls my mother the very next day, and he's like in utter fear, like, oh, and I'm gonna tell the whole world. That's what I said. I'm gonna tell the whole world what she did. Oh man, and he was like, and that was it. He didn't call us back. That was it. It was nothing. And then
This guy right here? No,
no,
wait,
no,
not
no,
that guy.
not that guy.
Oop, 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 oop. I almost had him.
Dr. Reddy.
Let me remove him and this
This
guy.
guy.
So
So
this
this
guy,
guy. So then, what's interesting about him is after just about 3 or 4 months later, after my dad's death, he disappears. I can't find a picture of him online. Nothing. His office permanently closed, and he refinances his house for $1.4 million. And then he just vanishes. And for several years, I couldn't find a picture of him. Who's nowhere to be found. His office permanently closed at Baylor, and now he's at some other hospital chain. But he popped back up because I reported him to the medical board. I guess he figures he's off. Well, he's going to be famous for life now. So
so you did report him to the medical board. Did you hear back from the medical board?
they did, yeah. They said that he did not violate the standard of care. Everything So if you want to kill people for money with the help of the police, the Texas Board of Nursing and the Texas Medical Board has your back.
Yeah, exactly. Because the standard of care, if the standard of care is death, then of course, tell us about this
So
chick.
this is Victoria Caroline Tolbert. She currently lives in Flower Mound, Texas. She works at Texas Health and in HEB. So anyone who lives in HEB, watch out. Don't take your mama there. She works in the ICU currently at HEB, but she was there present, participating in the brutal, violent murder of my dad. And she no longer works for Baylor. but what's interesting is she works for the same company the administrator does, and so does the nurse practitioner.
Really?
That's what's interesting. So the nurse practitioner, he works at Dallas Presbyterian ICU. Well, who else? Who's president of Dallas Presbyterian? Chris York.
Chris York.
There's a relationship there. So I started doing digging since these boards didn't want to do
Yeah.
anything. I started doing my own investigating, and I did Freedom of Information Act with the Grapevine Police about how many times the police were called to Grapevine, Baylor Scott White. And after looking through the spreadsheet that was sent to me, because that's what I requested, there was a total of 528 calls over the past 3.5 years. So from March of 2020 to June of like 2024. Okay, this is what we got. So in that time frame, 528 phone calls were made to the police. That's how many times the police were called. 389 calls that stood out, 70 welfare checks, 78 disturbance calls, 13 assault reports, 16 labeled special assignment calls. 86 of these calls are labeled special investigation. 44 calls are labeled complaints. So what's going on in this hospital? Now, here's what's interesting in these little sheet they gave me. It gives the officers, responding officer, da 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 da. The same guy that knocked on my door, Sammy Davis Jr., Sam Shamwell, he shows up on this chart. He responded multiple times to disturbance calls. So there's a relationship with the Grapevine Police, or this man, this cop, and Baylor.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
Baylor, I'm gonna guess, made the call to come knock on my door. Who else could it be? But
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like,
well, he did say something about Grace, which is an organization in Grapevine, and he said that please don't go put stuff on their door again, because Chris York, interviewed with that organization. But what these idiots don't know is my dad gave a bunch of money in the '80s to that organization when they were losing their ass. So,
that's interesting, right? So, did you remind them of that? Hey, my dad.
Ever see this interview, they're going to be reminded.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
this is how I see it. These people that were in charge during COVID, the establishment came along and said, they waved a bunch of money, go do this. They had all these people, like all the major CEOs of America, like American Airlines, Delta, all the CEOs, they're all new CEOs now. All of them took the COVID money and they left. They retired, and they move around too. Well, I'm noticing this in healthcare. So all these executives and these professionals, they care. They just care about the money. It's all about the money, and that's what COVID taught me.
yeah, right. Everybody got rich, right?
So,
and especially the people who had immunity,
yeah,
regardless of whether they killed somebody or not. So, so before your dad went in the hospital, because this was in March of 2021, so we hadn't even hit the winter of death yet of 2021. Before your dad went into the hospital, did you suspect at all that hospitals were killing people? I mean, your dad was a good doctor. I can't imagine you would have thought anything but doctors were good.
this hospital, I've known a long time, and I've known enough people to go there, get help, and then leave and not die. So for
Yeah.
this to have happened, and as quick, this is the part that confused me, that beyond the trauma, okay, how fast he died. That's what made me go get his chart. That's what made me investigate. And, my attorney, who's a great guy, he said, because of the way the laws are, just tell the world what happened, and make your website tell the world. So I did. And when I started doing this, what's interesting is Baylor Scott White, the community relations guy, William Selby, that's his name. I call him Jabba the Hutt. He's this big guy. He's big. He's a big guy. He needs help. Anyways, so he called me from an unidentified number in regards to what I'm doing with my website, and he was very concerned. And I said, call my lawyer. Let's go to court and talk about it. Call my lawyer. He never did. It was not until I did the whole T-shirt thing, Baylor started sending cease and desist letters to me, and
So
complaining
that's
about what I was doing.
let
And
me let me
my attorney and I were like, okay, whatever. They never said in the letter, this is, let's meet at this date, this time. They never served me papers. They'll send me letters complaining, but they won't sue me. They refuse to. They know what they did. They know it's murder.
so
So
I found this. I remember when they sent this to you, and I was like, what a bunch of I was like, don't you dare take down that website, because they this was the most butthurt letter. I mean, like, you don't say anything that's not true and that's not provable on your website. It's actually all documented with full proof. You have the medical records, you have the experience, you saw what you saw, you know what you know, and now you know a lot more because you know all these other people that this happened to, right? So all the pieces come together. You're not saying anything that's not provable. I love how they pick apart things on your website that are factual, and they want you to take the packages contained a shirt with the words death at baylor.com. Well, it's a website printed in on the front in large red block letters. Underneath these words is the following: if you think it's a crime, call the police. That's not something you can even sue for. and, and having Baylor personnel on the shirts, the pictures, those pictures, first of all, a lot of those pictures were out there on the internet. Once they're out there on the internet, you can do whatever the hell you want with those pictures. And so, and then they get really kind of upset that you publicly identify them by their first and last name. They tried so hard to hide who they were, but quite honestly, by Texas law, they are required to give you information that identifies them fully. You can't just go unidentified in the hospital and not have somebody hold you accountable. That's why they have licenses, right? How would we ever be able to file a license complaint if their identity gets hidden? But then they were even pissed off about the meet the new Gestapo in the hospitals, which is probably my favorite picture on your website. And because the police have become the brown shirts of the hospital. So, yeah, you admitted sending those shirts to Baylor Scott and White personnel because there's nothing illegal about it.
yeah.
Calling them, no. And so they go on and on and on. They clearly look at your X profile. I every single thing I like where they say this concern is magnified by Mr. Kotsanis's claim that sending these packages was a thrill and demonstrates an escalating and dangerous pattern of behavior and contact. Well, I'll tell you what it's not. Sending them packages is not murder. They murdered. These are murderers
Yeah. I mean,
complaining because you trolled them with packages, or you poked them in the eye with packages.
don't you think it's interesting how no one even tried to press charges for this? Don't you think it's
I do.
interesting? I think that they don't want to touch any of this with a 10-foot pole. And I'm going to tell you something else. The reason, and I've thought about this, I really did. They killed a lot of people, which is
1.6
why,
million.
yeah, which is why these nurses, doctors, whatever, the administrator, Baylor, all of these, everyone involved in this they don't want the discovery. They do not want to be asked the hard questions. And, maybe one day they'll have to face that. And that's
Yeah.
why they're sending these letters. They're hoping that I'm going to go away or he'll give up or whatever. No, I'm 39 years old. I'm in great shape. I feel amazing. I'm not going anywhere. I think that this is the beginning of an accountability, maybe even a class action and down the line for Baylor victims, because that's really what I want. I want
Yeah.
anyone that got hurt by Baylor Scott and White, or any other hospital for that matter, to be held accountable and to go through due process, to go not only through due process, but to be civilly held accountable. So you're going to have to not only have to go face criminal charges, but get sued. I want this to happen to them. This needs to happen. You can't just do this to someone and then all of a sudden you're going to act like, okay, I move on with
Yeah.
my life. It's over. No, it's not. It's
It
really
does.
not.
They wanted the immunity. They want the immunity, but they also want you to shut up and take it. And if they truly, they think by putting in a letter that right here where they say, how you've gone on podcasts and you have got people can go, search your do an internet search of your name. You did a lot of podcasts out there and talked about this, and they think that because they say we adamantly deny or vehemently deny what you're saying, that your dad was violently murdered or murdered at all, just because they say it doesn't make it true. You witnessed it. And so if they truly believed that the things that you said on your website were false, they would have taken you to court. But they don't want to do that because then they would have to be deposed. They would have to prove that you are wrong, and they can't do that. They they
If they
can't
want to
prove.
prove me wrong, they can dig my father's body up from his grave and pay for an autopsy and do a full examination of, I mean, if it's even still possible to do that. It's been so many years, but
Probably not.
I mean, we could play that game. But also, this is something else that you need. I want my viewers to know. I don't have it in front of me, but at the moment of death, at the very last, pull up the nurse practitioner. He has a form that he asked my mother to sign. It's marked no autopsy. It said patient did not die in restraints. Yes, he did. And then he's the author of this entire thing. He asked my mother right as she's screaming stop to have my dad stop being murdered. All he wanted to know was where to send the body. Sign here so I know where to send the body. That's it. She
Mm,
signed that right there. And this guy, I'm willing to bet, has probably killed over 1,000 people, maybe more. I mean, this guy's a total psycho. He wouldn't tell me his name, nothing, but
he even looks like a killer.
yeah, he's a murderer.
Like, I mean,
I mean, look, I mean, this, I don't even know. It's just amazing how, as public as I've been, um, they're not even, um, they're not trying to fight this at all. It's like they're just ignoring it. So that speaks volumes to me, and
yeah,
it really does. So I do think that as time goes on, you're going to see more people like us who were hurt. If they continue this trend, more people will get harmed. And then eventually, people like Ramel and the doctor and this administrator, like Chris York, are going to really feel the pressure. If they don't feel it now, they'll just do it to someone else, and then they'll have Andy and maybe another 5 or 6 Andys upset at them, and maybe someone will be suing them. Maybe not me, but someone else. So you can only get away with. I think Mother Nature will only let you be an asshole for so long,
yeah.
and then it bites you in the butt. So pardon my French. I'm trying to be professional.
No, and
So
I, it's, I guess cussing is okay when murders and you know what I mean.
yeah,
Your dad
I
was
just want
murdered.
I want my viewers to know that I have good intention. Okay, I'm just trying my best to, and I am an upset guy. I mean, I would be lying to you if I said I'm this happy person. I'm not. I'm very depressed for what happened. I'm very sad, and I miss my dad so much. That's why I'm doing this, because of how he died, how bad it was for him. He did not deserve that, and neither did anyone else during COVID. And you know, I'm the guy who will pay his taxes on time. I I try to be, I stay in my lane. I've been that guy my whole life. I always voted when it was time to vote. Whenever I'm called for jury duty, I show up. I mean, I'm a good citizen. I think I am. I do.
So
So
let's touch on the impact to your family, because that's one thing people don't really understand. The impact to these are not just statistics. These are real people, real families. Your dad was an amazing man. He was loved by many. How many? Like, I think you said there were 500 people at his funeral.
Over 500 people at his funeral.
I
Yeah. And
mean,
the
let's talk
police
about it.
saluted him. The police that escorted him, because we had a police, there were like like 7 or 8. There were so many cars, they had like half the police force there, but 7 or 8 motorcycle policemen that escorted everyone to the grave. When he was being put in his grave, they saluted. I guess they knew who he was, but they saluted, which I thought that was very interesting. But over 500 people attended. It was a big event. The whole town, the whole city of Grapevine, I felt like was there and knew about what happened. And I felt like it was like burying a king. That's what it felt like Alexander the Great or Elvis or
Yeah.
some amazing, Michael Jackson or someone amazing, right? Someone really outstanding.
It
And
was somebody amazing. It was your dad.
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I, so, and there's been a heavy impact to your family. There's been an impact to your mom. I know she misses him greatly.
yeah. It's been
It's
hard for
hard. How long were your parents married?
almost 40 years.
It's 40 years.
Yeah.
Your
And
dad.
my mom, who I love, I love my mom. Uh, the hardest part about losing my dad, in addition to all of what I saw and went through, is, listening to my mom almost every day lose it and trying to cope on my own while trying to help her. It made it even that much harder for me. And to this day, maybe it's not until you lose someone, I guess you don't do silly things like this, but I'll go smell his clothes when I miss him. I'll hug his shirt or something to remind myself of him. And that's what love is. And
Yeah.
my mother loved him, even, I feel like, more than even I did. I mean, I don't even know if it's possible, but she was very devastated by it. And I was on the phone every day with my lawyer for like a year and a half. I'll never forget explaining to an air marshal on a plane why my mom was screaming and crying like a lunatic. There was an instance that happened, and when I said to the marshal why she was losing it, he didn't say anything to me. He just, his face, like he saw a ghost, like, wow. And then he's like, have a wonderful evening. I'm sorry to bother you. And then he went back to his chair, and that was it. And I was really shocked by that. Um, uh, Grocery stores, restaurants, many instances where she had breakdowns, and
Yeah.
and it just wore me out. And I still feel spiritually worn out from this. Um,
It's that ambush grief, right? Like, it just nails you at the worst times.
yeah,
And it doesn't help when you don't, it makes it worse when you don't have accountability or justice for what happened. Because that's the thing. Families were locked out, you were locked out, you weren't there to be with him. Who knows what would have really happened if you had been allowed in every day? Because, as you know, family holding your hand while you're sick gives you hope. I mean, your father knew that as a doctor. He was a do no harm. He took his oath seriously, right? He was
yeah,
that physician, that old fashioned physician that actually gave a damn about his patients, which is the most criminal part. Is he helped his patients, and doctors who were not like him harmed him, and that's the shame of it all. So since then, you've been doing a lot to get the word out, and you and I actually somehow met a couple years ago. I was doing my thing and you were doing your thing, and the every member of the board was doing something to get the word out, right? That's why it makes such an incredible, we're such an incredible board, because we all were trying. Now we're collectively together moving forward. But you put out your site, deathatbaylor.com.
yes, and
Yeah.
it's an executive summary, really a play-by-play of what happened, and also you'll hear some other people that were harmed by this particular hospital, a recording of a woman being assaulted in the
Yeah.
ICU, And then, there's another thing I'll tell you about my audience needs to hear. There's a gentleman by the name of Ricky Hill who was a famous baseball player, apparently. There's a movie that was just made about him. His brother was at Grapevine Baylor about a year. This happened about a year later after my incident. But
Yeah.
his brother went in for something. It wasn't COVID related. And within about 5 or 6 days of being there, he calls Ricky, his brother. He's like, Ricky, they're trying to kill me. Help, help. So Ricky gets in his car and he runs to Baylor, drives to Baylor. And as he's trying to get upstairs to the ICU to see what's going on with his brother, there's like 7 or 8 Grapevine policemen
Mm-hmm.
that greet him at the door, blocking him while they're killing his brother upstairs. So, anyways, I put my signs out. He discovers my website, emails me. I reach out. I recorded our conversation, and he'd be interested. It's interesting what he said. You should hear it. All the play by play of what they said to him and what Baylor did to him. But, anyways, in a nutshell, we agreed to go to the Grapevine Police Department together to try and press charges for what happened to us. And it
Yeah.
was interesting how the policeman that came out to speak to me knew who Ricky was.
Really.
And I explained to him, oh, yeah, I met him through my website. I made a website, and he reached out. And he's like, oh, okay, gotcha, cool. But he knew, it's like instantly knew and I thought that was interesting. And then I was reading this cop's body language. And then he told me, call the Texas Rangers for what you're trying to do. I called the Texas Rangers. Said, call the DA. I called the DA. And they
Mm-hmm.
finally called me back. They said, call Baylor Police. I called Baylor Police to press charges. And they said, call our legal department. So everyone's bouncing me around.
Right.
And when I did my FOIA request to do my welfare checks with the Grapevine Police, the city of Grapevine attorney wrote me a letter petitioning to the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, to block my FOIA request, and he
Yeah.
did. He did, and I should probably sue for that. But I am just—that's what I'm dealing with. This is the state we are in, and I don't know. And
And
people
you
are
wrote
asking.
the AG of Texas, Ken
I
Pack.
did. I wrote to him. I
Mhm.
explained to him, this, that, the other. I even had there was an attorney, forget her name, but I had an attorney write a criminal referral about what happened. Still nothing. So um, it's really interesting but this is the state of our government. This is, when you put your finger on the pulse right now is not very good
Yeah,
for healthcare.
exactly.
It's terrible. It's not healthcare. It's death care.
It's death
And,
care. Yep. It
and
is absolutely is death care.
and the modalities that are in place now is literally to lead you because you taught me about palliative care, end of life care where they have different names, but these little things they do to lead you to death, to a
Yeah.
body bag. And the more they do to you while you're dying, the more they make.
Yeah.
That's not medicine to me.
Right.
So
Well, and I like how you're, getting the word out and you're telling everybody, and especially people who have an obligation to do something that are not doing anything, because there is going to come a day when, I mean, we're taking away their ability. We're taking away plausible deniability, so they can never say I didn't know, because one day this is going to be out. It is going to be somehow out in the open. I don't know how it's going to happen. It's going to take everybody standing up and telling their stories in mass, and just pushing and pushing and pushing, because it's most important that the stories get out there and that the truth be told, so that the truth has to be faced, and not this, oh, we made a mistake, some people died. That's not what happened here. What happened here was a democide. What happened here was intentional. It was very intentional. That's why they were so rude and snide. And somehow, the propaganda that played out convinced nurses and doctors to kill patients. There's a reason that this chick right here, there's a reason that she ran out of the building. She knew she killed your dad. She had to have. Like, why else would she do it?
I think she ran out of fear because, I was pissed and, I'm not a little guy. And when I'm mad, people get scared. So, I get it. But
Yeah.
you freaking killed my dad. So,
Yeah. I
you
mean,
know,
whose
it's
boo
a
boo is
sign of guilt when you run, when
worse?
you run like that. It's like, I
Like,
did
I mean,
something wrong.
you're going to
What?
have to expect people to be angry at you if you murder their dad.
Yeah.
Like, that's just, so tell me about, as we're wrapping up, what's your favorite memory of your dad?
My favorite memory of him. Whenever I wanted to go to the office and get like a glutathione push or a little vitamin C IV or something, anything conveniently, I had him. And we spent a lot of time together. And whenever we'd hang out, it was usually around his office, and usually he would just whenever I wanted little earwax removed because he was an otolaryngologist, ENT. He would do little things like that for me now and then. It was just like so cool, and he was like my dad too. And so that's what I remember. That's my favorite thing about him is how skilled he was and how he did it with ease. And he was like, sure, let's do it. Oh yeah. I like that. I miss
Yeah.
that. No one alive today. He was based, I'll say it this way. He was how people were 50 years ago.
Yeah, I remember you sending me a video that was so touching. It was him making his famous salad, and he was given life advice as he was making the salad, and it was very sweet, and it was very, I could tell he was an amazing man. And um so I appreciate you being willing to always tell your story publicly, and I really am glad that you're on the board of Betrayal Project USA, because we're doing great things and we're moving forward fast. Oh my gosh, we've done so much work in the last few months. It's incredible. And we are
Well,
going to
and
keep,
and I'm grateful to be part of it. And even though I'm spiritually tired would be the best word to use because when you're in a fight, it's tiring.
yeah,
It's also rewarding to work with individuals like yourself and everyone else on the board, and to have the privilege to do this. So and I think this is kind of a God thing where we
yeah.
certain things happen, and it was fate that I think brought everybody together. And I do think this mission will grow, and I do want to
I,
continue to get more
yeah,
people involved.
I do too.
Yeah.
I think so. And the great thing is, we're stronger together and we don't get as tired together because we have each other, right? It's terrible the way that we had to meet, but it is a good group of people. And so, and we're always looking for volunteers. People can go to our website and we'll put you to work. Tell us what your talents are. We'll find a spot for you, right?
And
Like,
my wisdom I want to share with anyone who's in a fight like me for a loved one, for hospital. This is something that I've learned over time. Don't confuse effort with success.
yeah,
Don't confuse effort. Now, what does that mean? You can put a lot of effort into something and you get the momentum. Well, here's where the failure comes in. If the momentum stops, let's say you get something going, doesn't matter what it is. Okay. Could be a Lego set. You don't finish it, you failed. Okay. You got momentum, you're going, you got to finish. Okay.
yeah,
So when people put in a lot of effort for something and you think, okay, I put all this money and time into something great. Well, keep going. Keep going. Eventually you will know when you're done.
yeah.
In this instance, you'll know when you make it to the courtroom. You'll know you've made it to your final destination or part of it. Okay, that's what I'm trying to do. But yeah, so put in effort, but also keep the momentum going. Got to keep it going.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
yeah.
And so speaking of our, volunteers and all and momentum and stuff, I'm going to end the interview with a couple things that Ellie Hayes made. She volunteers on our media and promotional team that does digital stuff and print stuff and just all the creative people that we have. Everyone wants to be on the creative team, but not the administrative team, but that's okay But she made these. This one is your mom and your dad, and she made that for you and your mom,
Amazing.
which I just love. And then she made, and I'm going to send these to you as well. And she made this one for you so that you'll have a forever hug from your father.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your
Yeah.
time.
Thank you. All right. And please share this video, everyone, because the more that these stories get out, and we like to call out the doctors and the hospitals and name them and shame them. And so get these out to the public. And tell, if you have a story, please tell it. Thank you.